What's up, y'all? I'm back at y'all with another one. Today, I want to talk about the current government shutdown. So let's go. Now, in my last video, which was also my first video, so I'm back, y'all. I made it back. I'm here. I talked about how I don't just want this to be a news channel, but I want this to be a news and solutions channel. So, to the best of my ability, when I have solutions that I think can work for a particular problem, I'm going to share them. The goal of my channel is to inspire people to start to think for themselves and come up with solutions on their own so that we as a collective can create a better world. Because let's be honest, we can't keep relying on politicians and elites to come up with solutions for our problems because they're only in it for themselves, not for the people. So, with that being said, let's get into it. On October 1st, 2025, the U.S. government has shut down due to funding. Now, some essential workers and some departments will continue operations. Many will go without pay until funding becomes available. And like I said, this is totally unacceptable because Congress is still getting paid and they made sure that they will always get paid even during shutdowns. And I'm going to talk to you guys about that a little bit later. So here's how it works. Congress usually will create a budget resolution that is the blueprint of how the money should be spent in a year. But it's just a plan, and plans don't pay the bills. To actually spend money, Congress must pass appropriation laws. Now, the government is basically broken up into 12 sectors, and each of these sectors has an annual bill that they must pay in order to fund the departments in that sector. And once these appropriation laws are passed, then they fund those 12 sectors. Now, if those 12 bills aren't done by the deadline, and if Congress hasn't passed what's called a continuing resolution, which is a law that typically has an agreed upon expiration date, and is basically saying, for now, let's continue to use last year's allowance for a little longer while we finalize negotiations, then we will have a shutdown. Appropriations are the key things here. Congress could actually pass appropriations without a budget resolution, but if there is no appropriations or continuing resolution passed, that's when we have a shutdown.
Money, I need money.
So before the 1980s, we did have funding gaps, but that typically did not stop the government from running. Then in 1980, there was some legal guidance that said no money, no work. And this really became the birth of true government shutdowns. Over the years, these government shutdowns have become political tactics to pressure opponents into agreeing to some of their policies. And both parties have used it. So to think of it, a budget resolution equals the blueprint. Appropriations equals the money. Continuing resolution, that is a temporary money extension. And a shutdown happens when there's no legal permission to spend any more money. So the new shutdown rules, no money, no work, took hold in 1980. Then on October 1st, 1981, the very first day of the new fiscal year, Congress passed a bill, and inside that bill, they made sure the legislative branch appropriations were funded. This is important because at that point in time, Congress was paid out of the legislative branch appropriation. Now, it's also important to note that although they funded the legislative branch appropriations that year, not all of the 12 government bills received appropriations at that time, but theirs did, which covered them for the 1982 fiscal year. That bill also did something else. In it, they removed themselves from the legislative branch appropriations in the future, and they placed their salaries into a new indefinite appropriations, which is always funded. And this ensured that moving forward, that they could never not get paid, even during a government shutdown.
All right, we're securing the money.
So in 1980, y'all, there was no money, no work. 1981 rolls around, Congress says, let me make sure I fund myself day one, but also let me switch my money into a new fund that by law has to always be funded so that we never get caught up in any future government shutdowns. They ensured that they would never not be without money. So Congress made sure that when they don't do their jobs, they are still protected, while other federal employees' futures were uncertain. After Congress made sure their financial interests were protected, guess what happened? Guess what happened, y'all? You guessed it. We had our first government shutdown in 1981 in November.
Son of a... That was a dirty move.
So what is this shutdown over this time? The biggest standoff is around healthcare. Democrats want to extend the ACA, aka Obamacare premium tax credits, and reject recent cuts to Medicaid. And the Republicans have resisted tying those issues to a funding bill. Now, I don't know this to be true, but I asked AI for an estimate on how much it would cost to extend the ACA premium tax credits for another year. And it was somewhere around $30 billion. Now that's a lot of money, but both Democrats and Republicans depend on these tax credits for their health care. And without them, I've seen estimates that many Americans could see their health care costs double or go even higher. Now, just to give a stark contrast, in 2024, America appropriated over $60 billion of aid to Ukraine. Now, to be fair, that was done under President Biden, not Trump. But regardless, I feel a lot of people are now starting to feel like their government cares more about other people than they do about their own citizens. But regardless of what they do, we have to admit that Congress is broken and we need to fix it. My solution to fixing this problem is one that other people have floated around before, and that is that Congress should not get paid when a shutdown happened. So several bills like this have been proposed before in the past, that Congress shouldn't get paid while a government shutdown is going on. Some say no back pay once the government is funded, and some of them had the money for Congress placed in an escrow, and it will be released to them once the government has been funded. Now guess how many of these bills actually ever made it to the floor? Guess, for a vote. Guess. I bet all of you can guess. 0. So to me, that's just a lot of political theater. They introduce bills to say, we tried to do something, but they know it will never see the light of day. They never wanted it to see the light of day. It's just a record-keeping tactic for them to use. Now, I am in favor of no pay and no back pay for members during shutdown periods. Why? Because urgency matters. If the people doing the negotiation feel real consequences, they might actually do their jobs and what's right for the people. The Bible says, the one who is unwilling to work shall not eat. So they need to get to work. Now this ties into my last video. If we had a decentralized open source think tank, no pay and no back pay bills could be proposed for the public to see and support, which will make it harder for Congress to just put on an act and then ignore it. But y'all, we could actually call their bluff, because right now there's 2 bills that propose either reducing Congress salary or eliminating it during a shutdown. One's by a Democrat, one's by a Republican. You can go to congress.gov and you can search those bills. And it is HR 1973 and HR 5637. I will put those on the screen. But yeah, call, write your congressperson and say, hey, I want you to support these bills. I want these bills to make it to the floor this time to have a vote. And I want you to pass them to hold yourselves accountable in the future. But y'all, this is my second video. I wanted to go much more in depth with this, but I didn't want to make the video too long. If you agree or disagree with me, please leave a comment. And if you want to hear more about important topics with possible solutions, hit the subscribe and like button and ring that bell. Stay blessed. Have a great day.